Hi, welcome back to Fireside Crackle. I'm your host, Dragonslayer, and today I have a very special guest, my grandmother.
Hi, glad to be here. Glad to be able to do this. Um, you know, it's really my first time, so forgive me if I'm, not accurate or whatever. But
Yeah. So your name is Kathy Lamosa.
yeah,
So what is your maiden name?
um, O'Connor. I
O'Connor.
was baptized Catherine Mary Margaret O'Connor. So that was such a long time ago. And,
What year were you born?
1944.
1944. So how old are you now?
75.
75.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, lived a long time. Yeah.
So what were your past jobs?
As growing up, I used to, in the neighborhood, uh, and I got paid for it. I would babysit, I would clean uh, some of the elderly people's houses. Um, my first real job was my aunt was a hairdresser, and so where she worked, um, she got me a job as a shampoo girl. And then, I had left that job, and, closer to home, there was a job opening at a high stylist hairdresser. And, uh, I, even, was able to set some of my neighbors, because it was in the neighborhood that a lot of my neighbors knew me, and they went to this hairdresser, so they let me put rollers in their hair and do different things that besides just washing their heads. And I remember my mom said, "Now make sure, I don't want you coming home. I don't want them doing anything to your hair." And so you know my that my boss, her name was Toby. She told me, "Get in the chair," and I got in the chair, and she frosted my hair. I was afraid to go home because my mom said, "Don't let them touch your hair," And so when I walked in, she looked at me and she liked it. Well,
Wow.
and I've been, like that was my really first job where you actually got a salary,
Was
and
that a hourly salary or a set salary?
set, yeah. And from there, I went into waitressing. Uh, Waitressed at many different places, and I, waitressed until I was married. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And after that, you worked at what was the place called? The place you just retired from.
Oh, Chapman.
Yeah, Chapman.
Yeah. Oh, you want to go through the whole life?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I helped Grandpa at his store, and I worked at, like I said, waitressing Pizza Hut for 15 years, and then I went to Chapman on 6/11. I worked for them for going on 20 years until I retired. So
And you're almost retired for about a year now, right?
for a year, yeah.
Wow.
December it'll be a year that I'm retired.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Time definitely flies.
I figured I'd retire. I felt like I still wanted to work, but I said 75 is a good number to retire, so I retired at 75.
Nice. Now you have 25 more years of your life to go and to just do
Lord
whatever.
willing, yes.
Yeah. My next question would be, what is your perspective of love?
Mm. Love is it feelings, and you know it's
Here, let me ask you this. Do you feel that everybody has the right person for them? Like a true love kind of effect?
I guess not. That's why there's so many divorces, but there is always somebody out there for everyone. You just have to be patient, and uh, and that true love will come along. I was fortunate. I married my true love. So
And Pop-Up died about 10 years now, or 4 years?
12.
12 years.
Yeah, February, 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was only 4 years old at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do you feel that people can recreate their family? Like they can choose their family instead of the family they were given? It's like you can have a friends as family.
Sure. You There's a saying that you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. And you know, friends become such a part of your life that you consider them family. Um, even our pets. We feel like they're family. They're you know they,
Yeah. Uh, how do you feel about the other feeling, like other emotions? Like we already went over love. What about sadness, happiness, and anger?
uh, they're all a part of our makeup. We You experience it at different times. Uh, you know, they're anger, frustration. You know, if things don't go your way, you feel frustrated, and uh, you, just, uh, you
Yeah.
know.
Uh, and what about sadness? Like, do you feel that people should feel sadness on a daily basis, or like once a week or a month, or?
um, Usually, I think you're sad when something happens in your life that you don't understand. Um, if something happens to a loved one, or you're, you know, upset or sad with it, like I said, how a pet would become part of your family. Losing a pet, you know, you it's another emotion where you're feeling sad. Uh, like I said, if things don't go your way, you feel frustrated and anger, and you know, but you don't understand at that time, why
Yeah.
they didn't go that way.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. One feeling that we didn't go over is fear. Do you feel like you have any like phobias or like some kind of random fear,
um,
like
growing
fear?
up, I was like fearless, I guess you could say. But as I got older, a fear of height. When you go to the mall and you're on the second floor, I got to walk close to the stores, not the railing, because I can't look down. My stomach turns. I get all queasy in my stomach. So, um, you know, fear, that's another emotion that everyone experiences. Your fear of the pandemic, the virus, fear that you're going to catch it or spread it or whatever. And
And so you agree that people should feel some kind of fear. right?
Yeah, I think so. Most people, I think, do. Like I said, as a kid, you're fearless. You try everything. You go on a bike ride and think nothing of, doing wheelies or whatever. And, but as you get older, I think that's when, fear.
Uh, what it what do you think of the community? Like, I know your town is really nice, or it seems very nice. It seems kind of compact. Like everything is right in arm's reach. So, what do you think of the community?
I think it's a great community to, um, you know, live in and to raise a family in. Uh, the school districts, your neighbors, you know, they're there right for you. I have wonderful neighbors, and in the winter they'll come over with their snow blowers, and you know, um, it just they care about each other. I think small towns and they really care. The city is another thing. It's too big, too many people. You don't know that many people, you know. But in small communities, you do. You get to know your neighbor, and and there's always things going on. So yeah,
So, I knew when you had my father, you guys lived in Philadelphia.
yeah.
So, since you lived in both Philadelphia, like the outskirts of Philadelphia, and living in more of like the countryside, which one would you prefer?
I'm glad I grew up where I did. I grew up in the city, and it was a nice time back then. And you know, uh, when I had my first child, you know, uh, he had, he went out to play, and you didn't have to worry. Not like today, you have to worry when your kids, you let them out the door or out of your sight. You have to worry. Uh, that I do prefer living in the outskirts of Philadelphia, the country, as you would call it. Uh, I feel safer. Um, I think there's a lot to do, and the city's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I live where I live. Yeah.
So, at this, when you were younger, you would prefer to live in like the outskirts of the city instead of living in the country in which you do now, right?
Um, I when I was little, I enjoyed living in the city. Um, you know, we you heard the old saying, which many people say, that you went out to play and you were out all day, and you came in when the street lights, came on at that. And there were so many games we played: the wire ball, Red Rover, um, chink ball, stick ball, um, giant steps. All these games we would play. So I had a good childhood growing up in the city, and I wouldn't change that. Yeah.
The next time I come over, you're gonna have to tell me about all these different games because we definitely don't have any of them at this day and age. Um, so right now we're gonna take a quick commercial break. Once again, my name is Dragonslayer because gotta be anonymous, and my grandma. We'll be right back after these few commercial breaks. This is Fireside Crackle, and we'll be back. Hi, welcome back to Fireside Crackle. I'm your host, Dragonslayer, and I'm still with here with my grandmother, Kathy Lamelza. And so today we are going to continue our conversation, but this time we're going to immediately start off with the idea of death. I know it's an immediately hard topic to go over, but I feel like it should be addressed.
You know, well, I had lost my husband. Uh, that was really my first experience with death in my close family. Uh, and, it wasn't easy, but, with prayers and faith, I got through it. And, life does go on. And, I had a lung cancer, and I survived that, thank God, uh, through prayers and faith. Uh, the Lord was with me. Uh, I was diagnosed by my doctor because I had smoked for over 60 years. Well, she said 30 years, but it was longer than that. And so I got a CAT scan, and that's when they discovered I had a tumor, and they wanted me to have another CAT scan like 6 months later, and it showed that the tumor had grown and it had spread. So in April, I was operated on. They removed the upper left lobe of my lung, and I went for chemotherapy. And so far, I'm doing good. The good Lord was with me. He see me through it, and prayers. And I can't say you're cancer free. They say until 5 years. But I had another CAT scan and it showed that everything was okay. So
I just want to point out to the viewers and the listeners of the podcast, this is all happening at the beginning of COVID-19. So it was a very terrifying year for my family and everybody who knows Kathy. So I just wanted to quickly point that out.
yes, the it was hard on everyone, and my family has been there. Unbelievable. They're, if I needed anything, uh, they were right here. I don't know what I would do without them. So.
And so you mentioned that you are a Christian, and which I know you are a Christian. So you do believe that there is a heaven and God.
Yes. Believe in prayer. If it wasn't, I've seen God. He's been with me my whole life. I didn't always recognize him, but when I look back on my life, I see, God was there. Uh, he he's faith first, family, and then friends. And my faith comes first.
Okay. Now we're going to be going over aging. So you said you're 75 years old. What was your experience with aging and stuff like? Most people say that time flies when the more time you get older.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just a number. It's how you feel. That's what's important. If you have your health, you could age, like they say, gracefully. If you take care of yourself when you're young, which I remember my mom saying different things like about taking care of myself when I was younger, then now I see what she meant as you get older. Like things you eat, things you do, they're all, you know, of your who you are and what you are to become.
So you're
Yeah.
saying that the age doesn't come from what's on the outside, or it's not a number, it's what's on the inside that signifies how old you are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, uh, some people, you would look at them and you wouldn't even realize they were as old as they are because they look, you know, and it's all, again, part of taking care of yourself, you know, from when you were younger. Too much sun is, you know, uh, no good. And like I say, what you eat, you know, defines who you're going to be, you know, later in life, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a diabetic or, you know.
So now we're gonna go over marriage. So how long have you been married to your husband before he passed away?
We were married 43 years when, you know, Grandpa passed away. I met him so many years ago when I was working in a restaurant. He had a shop next to the restaurant, and he was standing on the step when I was going into work, and he asked me, he said, "How's the food in there?" And I said, you know, "Why don't you come in and try it?" And he did, and the rest was history. You know, he kept coming in, and he a few times he asked to drive if he could drive me home, and you know, he did, and then finally we started dating, and then marriage, and you know, like all marriages, it has its trying times, but love, you know, we loved and respected each other, and you know, uh, he always said I was the love of his life, and you know, uh, I'm so thankful that God has blessed me with, you know, a loving and, you know, good husband and good father, you know, to his boys.
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take a minute to think of a question to go off of that. So what year did you guys actually marry, and like how old were you?
I was 17.
You were 17.
18, I'm
18.
sorry, yeah. um, and that, and Pop was, he was 10 years older than me, so, you know,
So he
he's
was
28.
28 years old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got married immediately out of high school, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did he propose in like 17, or did he propose immediately after you got out of high school?
No, like I said, I was working at that restaurant, and you know, he, you know, I never thought like, you know, we just talked about getting married. You know, it wasn't like he actually a proposal where he got down on one knee. We just always, you know, we talked about getting married. So, and then we just, excuse me, set a date, and we got married. So, you know, it's like,
Wow.
yeah.
I thought that only happened in movies.
No.
So can you tell me about like what's your perspective of forgiveness and stuff? Like, do you feel like everybody should forgive?
I've seen families torn apart because they hold grudges. Um, that somebody said something or have done something that, uh, and they, like I said, it tore families apart. In my own family, also, that. But forgiveness, it's sometimes it's hard for a person to admit they're wrong, but uh, forgiveness, it's to help you, not so much the other person. But for me to forgive someone who wronged me, uh, it I have the peace. They might still hold the grudge, but I have the peace because I forgave them. So.
I know that I go off of this rule in life because I got it from the Bible. A person should always forgive but never forget. Do you agree with that?
In some circumstances, you can't forget. You may forgive, but you can't forget. But I think it's best to forget too. Yeah.
And this is the last question before the big question. Uh, what do you think were your successes in life, like your accomplishments?
Um, I think the greatest accomplishment is my family. I look at my boys and I see how they're healthy. They have beautiful families, and I guess you could say it's a legacy. Having um, a family who's caring, loving, who always there for you and each other, and I think that's the greatest blessing that anyone could ask for. And like I said, I'm thankful to God that they're all healthy, and they all love each other, and they're, like I said, be there for each other, and thick and thin. They might not always agree with each other, but they're right there for each other if something should arise. Yeah.
Okay, one more question. What is your opinion on having a good life? Like, what do you define as for someone to have a good life?
It could be a lot of different things to different people. A good life is that uh, you found the right person in life, uh, your health, uh, family, uh, that you're doing having a job that you love, uh, that you know.
Um, so my final question is, what do you think is the meaning of life, in your opinion? Because everybody has their own opinion of the meaning of life. So, what is yours?
Like I said, that it varies for different people, but I'm thankful that God has seen me through uh, my whole life, been there my whole life, and I know that when I die, that I'm going to be with the Lord in heaven, and that to.
So you're saying that the meaning of life is to have a good life and in the end be with the Lord.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, that's it. You know, like I said, family. You come back to family, and
So yeah, thank you so much, Grandma, for coming on and letting me do this. It was a pleasure having you, and yeah.
thank you for you know thinking that my life was interesting enough to interview me, and I thank you.
It definitely,
Yeah.
your life is definitely a lot more interesting than my life. So yeah. Yeah. So thank you again for coming, for having me come over to interviewing you for my podcast and stuff. Once again, guys, this is Fireside Crackle, and go check me out on YouTube. I'm Dragonslayer __ Dragonslayer ___, or you can find this podcast on Spotify if you're not already here. So thank you so much, and I'll love to have you here again.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, and anytime you're welcome. So.
Okay, bye guys.